It's great to see you all. I am Audrey Gale Hall. I'm your membership coordinator here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church, where our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you're joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome and invite you to fill out our yellow visitor card so you can receive more information about Emerson and our activities. Again, welcome to all. We're a church in many places. Some of us are here at the pews and others are joining us online through YouTube at home or wherever they might be. Maybe that's now, maybe that's later in the week. Either way, y'all are welcome too. Our world's a different one than it was in early 2020. So we have the Zoom apparatus now that we can use for activities. We have YouTube live streaming. We've also changed our worship service accordingly. So we're giving people choices as to whether or not to mask in the pews and whether they want to decide to distance between families. We've also put a few offering baskets here at the front and back of the sanctuary instead of passing the plate. For those of us in the sanctuary this morning, let's take a moment to picture the dozens of friends, neighbors, and those we've not met yet who are taking part in this service across time and space. We're holding y'all in our hearts, and we hope that you do the same at home. And since we are officially now in worship mode, it's past 11, here's a reminder to silence y'all's cell phones so that we don't have any unwelcome interruptions while we're here together. Following the worship service, folks in the pews can head out to the courtyard and playground to chat or grab some snacks and more caffeine in the gathering place if you like. And those of you online can join Social Time on Zoom, hosted by Marilyn Rambo, a board trustee, who I think you can meet through the link in the description on the video now, so it's not in the comments anymore. And now, for our prelude on our fully renovated Steinway piano, played by our lovely pianist whom we have missed, Sean Chen.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, the interim minister of this congregation. Our worship service this morning is about the many ways in which we take spiritual journeys over the course of our lives. You are invited to bring a special object with you today, one that represents an aspect of your spiritual life. If you missed this invitation or forgot, that's okay. Simply imagine what it is you would have brought with you. You'll need your object or your imaginations a bit later in the service today. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here.
Today's opening words are by Lynn Cox. Come, you accidental pilgrims, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and wonder. Come, you who emerge into this place as an act of liberation. Come, you who seek a life of mindfulness and a place to test your thoughts. Come, you who bring hearts of all kinds, heavy hearts, rusty hearts, hearts broken open in revelation, hearts full of love to share. Come, you who seek courage, and you who have more courage than you realize. Come, you who stand behind the curtain, gathering up the resources to claim your truth. Come, you who have been in a bubble, you who are poised for transformation. We begin our story again, gathering courage, love, mindfulness, and a sense of purpose. We gather as people of all ages, of different abilities, different backgrounds, and different perspectives. We share a covenant, a direction for our shared journey, and a commitment to encourage and challenge one another to spiritual growth. This path will ask much from us. Let us move forward with love. Let us move forward with appreciation for one another. Let us move forward knowing we are not alone. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts, you are welcome to join this journey.
As we light our chalice this morning, let there be light, the light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tried and tested, and impelled toward growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good. Now let us rise either in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, which is number 212, We Are Dancing Sarah's Circle.
Brothers all. As Reverend Michelle mentioned, today we're talking about journeys. And I want us to think for one moment of a journey that many of us have gone through in the last week or three. And that is back to school. It doesn't matter if we're homeschool or preschool or graduate school or taking a course at the community college or first grade. It doesn't matter. It's that moment of saying, I want to learn something new this year, of coming together in a new sort of creativity and curiosity. As Unitarian Universalists, we value lifelong learning, whether it's how to tie our shoes, how to spell our own name, and really, really complicated whole names for some of us. It's checking on YouTube on that fact you wish you knew, or how the heck you are going to change out the seal on your front side passenger window. And here's the thing, when I'm talking about lifelong learning, yeah, sometimes that's about some little trivia facts. But more often, it's about getting to know ourselves and getting to know our place in the world, understanding what has come before so we have a better understanding of where we're going. Some of the learning that we do happens in community. Some of it happens right in this community, in these few hours that we spend together once a week. Some of it happens out in schools or other places of learning. Some of it is just us considering who we are in our hearts. And in that spirit of learning, we've adopted a little ritual in the past few years of the backpack blessing tag. I'm going to be honest, these tags don't just work on backpacks. You can put it on your purse, on your luggage, on your laptop bag, whatever you want. It is a reminder that we are all together in this, that we have your back, that even on the most discouraging day, because let's face it, sometimes becoming somebody new, learning something new, can be hard and can feel like, oh, I'm never going to get there. But we have these tags, and no, they are not just for people under 18. I've got a whole set of them myself. I know Reverend Michelle has one on her bag, and I've seen several of you with the ones of years past on yours. But before we hand them out, we need to bless them. We're going to bless this basket so that the whole congregation has blessed these. Since I know that that picture doesn't have very, very big font, and if you're watching this on the internet, it's even smaller font, I'm going to say a line, and I invite you to say it back. So on the first is a blessing. May you find wonder, joy, and purpose.
May you find wonder, joy, and purpose
on your journey.
on your journey.
And on the back is a reminder, an affirmation. We all need these big time. You are loved. And your love changes the world. So after service, come find me. You can either have this year's or last year's. And in just a couple minutes, children can head down to Sunday school with me, where today we will be learning with our own Emersonian Anne May, who was one of the founders of our Pocket Prairie. We'll be learning about our gardens and pollinators. So you can ask us for some hints and a bookmark after the service. Audrey?
Giving on Sundays out of what is our own can lead us into transformative action. As a community of faith, we collect an offering, not just for ourselves or for our congregation, but to give to others as a collective gift from our community, and as one way that we choose to live out our shared values. So today, please give with a generous heart to support our August Share the Plate recipient, the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. This is a statewide justice ministry whose executive director visited us last week. That raises the voice of Unitarian Universalist values in the public arena and seeks to have them enacted into legislation and, I love this phrase, promulgated into public policy. Next Sunday, we're going to move on to our next Share the Plate, but this is our last opportunity to give with a generous heart to Texas UUJM. And the remaining 25% of our offering goes to our ongoing commitment to Interfaith Ministries' Meals on Wheels program, feeding Houston's seniors. We have 4 ways to give. You can text the number on the screen, go to our webpage for online giving, mail a check to the church, or you can place your offering in one of our plates, which again are here on your left, here on your right, and at the very back of the congregation in the center. And this is the perfect time for young folks to accompany Katie when she stands up to leave to Sunday school, if you like.
Today's reading is titled Map of the Journey in Progress by Victoria E. Safford. Here is where I found my voice and chose to be brave. Here's a place where I forgave someone against my better judgment, and I survived that, and unexpectedly, amazingly, I became wiser. Here's where I was once forgiven, was ready for once in my life to receive forgiveness and to be transformed. And I survived that also. I lived to tell the tale. This is the place where I said no, more loudly than I thought I ever could, and everybody stared. But I said no loudly anyway, because I knew it must be said. And those staring settled down into harmless, ineffective grumbling, and over me, they had no power anymore. Here's a time, and here's another, when I laid down my fear and walked right on into it, right up to the neck into that roiling water. Here's where cruelty taught me something. And here's where I was first astonished by gratuitous compassion and knew it for the miracle it was, the requirement it is. It was a trembling time. And here, much later, is where I returned the blessing, clumsily. It wasn't hard, but I was unaccustomed. It cycled round, and as best I could, I sent it back on out, passed the gift along. This circular motion, around and around, has no apparent end. Here's a place, a murky puddle, where I have stumbled more than once and fallen. I don't know yet what to learn there. On this site, I was outraged, and the rage sustains me still. It clarifies my seeing. And here's where something caught me: a warm breeze in late winter, bird song in the late summer. Here's where I was told that something was wrong with my eyes, that I see the world strangely. And here's where I said, yes, I know. I walk in beauty. Here is where I began to look with my own eyes and listen with my ears and sing my own song, shaky as it is. Here's where, if by surgeon's knife, my heart was opened up, and here, and here, and here, and here, these are the landmarks of conversation.
For this morning's meditation, we will be using a finger labyrinth. If you are here in person, you got it on your way into the sanctuary this morning. But before we begin, I'd like to share a little bit about what a labyrinth is. Labyrinths are symbolic representations of going on a pilgrimage, and they have been used for millennia by people who cannot go on a physical pilgrimage or cannot go as often as they like, or for spiritual practice in general. The place in the middle of the labyrinth, on yours where the flame is, represents a person's destination. This might be a holy site, such as the Western Wall in Jerusalem, or Mecca, or Buddha's tree. Or it could be a meeting with God, or a communing with the cosmos, or a journey deep into the center of oneself. Typically, before entering a labyrinth, a person will pause for a few moments to prepare for the journey, then wind their way into the center, each at their own pace. Upon entering the center of the labyrinth, it is time to pause once again and experience the sacred. This is a time when a person might want to ask a powerful question, listen to the still small voice within, or say a prayer before slowly turning and beginning the return journey. Once again, each person makes their own way out of the labyrinth at their own pace, pausing one final time before exiting the labyrinth and returning to the secular world. So now I'd like to invite you to pick up your labyrinth, if you have a paper one, and find a comfortable place in your seat. Those of you with paper labyrinths will be using a finger to mark your way, but you can also use a pencil or a small stone or a marble if you prefer. Those of you online who can see the labyrinth on your screen will make your way with your eyes. Or any of you can imagine a labyrinth in your minds. When it is time to begin, Sean will play some music on the piano to accompany you into the center of the labyrinth. Though each will go at our own pace, The choir will begin to sing when we are about in the center of our labyrinth and accompany us on our way out. Don't worry if it goes more quickly or most slowly than anyone else. It is all good. Now, let's take a deep breath in and begin. This summer, my uncle died. While it was unexpected, his death was not unlike any of the deaths so many of you have experienced these last couple of years. Our family size is small and ever dwindling, and with various family hospitalizations, surgeries, and COVID, among other issues, few of us were left to go clean out his house and take care of his cats and hurricane-proof his windows. Actually, to be exact, 2 of us were left, me and my spouse, Micah. As my uncle lived in South Florida and my mom lives in Pennsylvania, a plan was made to drive from Houston to Florida to Pennsylvania and then back to Houston. This was not only so we could bring my uncle's cats to my mom's house, but also have time to grieve as a family. And so began my 4,350-mile summertime spiritual journey. It was a good time to go, considering the summer heat we were having here in Houston. Though I admit I'd never thought I'd hear myself say that I was going to South Florida to cool off. It was a grueling journey, as pilgrimages often are, over many miles, filled with grief and physical labor, never mind the crowded conditions on the leg of the journey that piled myself, my spouse, my service dog, 2 cats, and all our gear into one relatively small car. Yes, it was comical at times, or it will be looking back someday as time and distance allow. Looking back is much of what this summertime spiritual journey was all about. You see, my grandparents moved to Florida from Connecticut when I was 6 years old. They moved to a small community called Jamaica Bay, where many more families also came to live or lived nearby. So this is where I remember most of my family on my mom's side being for most of my life. When we had the money to vacation, this is where we went. My uncle lived in the home he had inherited from my grandparents. Going to clean out my uncle's home meant I was also cleaning out my grandparents' home. And so it seemed that in every cabinet and in every drawer and around every corner was a memory. My grandmother's old measuring cup made out of tin, my great aunt's old home, my grandfather's old jacket, the community pool we so often laughed and played at, and so much more. It wasn't all about memories, though. There were some new things to learn, too. If you ever want to get to know someone, clean out their house. I found out that my uncle was working on memorizing more and more digits of pi. P-I, not P-I-E. There were scraps of paper all over the house. And I found out that he not only owned the complete set of NCIS DVDs, but also kept a notebook nearby in which he recorded each of Gibbs' numbered rules as he figured them out. Nor was that all there was to my most recent spiritual journey. I traveled through a wide range of emotions. Regret over the ways in which I might have been a better niece. Gratitude for the life of my favorite uncle. Grief that his life was shorter than I expected or hoped for. pride in so many of the things he did over the course of his life, and so many more, including joy. Yes, joy. I was able to listen to his neighbors share memories of him and accept help and support from people whom I had never met before. I made a new friend. I visited with my great aunt and uncle, my only remaining family in the area, and I had time to be with my mom. These are just a few of the spiritual gifts or blessings that I was able to open while on my journey this summer. And still, there are more yet to be discovered. Over the course of our lives, we humans take many spiritual journeys. Some are intentional, well planned in advance. Others take us by surprise. Some are brief, lasting only a matter of minutes or even seconds. Others take years. Some happen while we are sitting still or even while dreaming in our sleep. Others span continents. Some are solitary, quiet endeavors. Some happen in a large company, while waiting, while wailing in grief, or while making a joyful noise. In other words, there is no one right way to take a spiritual journey. There are many good and right ways taken at any and all ages and in all stages of life. In the reading this morning, Reverend Safford outlined a map of a journey in progress. During the time for all ages, we blessed all of us who are willing to take a tag and install them on our bags and backpacks and purses as we go about in the world. So now I invite you to pick up the object you brought with you and hold it in your hands, or imagine it in your mind's eye. This is something you have chosen because it represents a spiritual aspect of your life. Let us take a few moments now to examine it and to reflect. If you'd like, you can share your objects and your reflections with each other after the service. For now, begin with your senses. Notice its shape and color, whether it is smooth or rough or varied. Listen for any sounds it might make. Feel its weight. Smell it. Notice whether it is pleasing to your senses or not. Next, pay attention to your emotions. Does holding your object bring tears to your eyes or a smile to your face? Or are your emotions more complex and multivalent? Take a moment to remember how this object came into your life. Was it a gift? Did you choose it for yourself or stumble upon it in some way? Where were you? What was happening in your life at the time? Does this object mark a time of change or transition in your life? And finally, if you were to place this object on a map of your spiritual journey, what would that map look like? a straight continuum from point A to point B, a never-ending spiral, a maze filled with dead ends and wrong turns, a curvy and windy road. Now take a moment, just a moment, to hold on to all of these thoughts and feelings that you've just had. They will make good fodder for drawing or writing or sharing as you will. And then, when you are ready, take a deep breath and come back into the room. The object I brought with me is this shell. I happened upon it while hurricane-proofing the windows of my uncle's and my grandparents' home. It came from an area on the side of the porch where shells were used in place of gravel. This shell now serves as a touchstone for me to remember and honor the ancestors, my ancestors, the ones who live on in my memory, along with the lessons that they taught me. And I have no doubt that over time this shell will become infused with more and even deeper meaning as I return to it and reflect. One of the things that I love about the Bible is that it is filled with stories of humans wrestling with ideas about how to be a good person and how to live a good life, even while they are constantly and forever messing up and making mistakes. These humans, these spiritual ancestors, are constantly wrestling with their understandings of the holy, with who or what God is, or who or what God might be, and what God expects of them. Even the patriarchs themselves are not exempt from this human struggle to live rightly and understand the holy. In the book of Genesis, there is a story about Jacob wrestling with God, or perhaps God's angel, all night long until dawn, when he finally receives the blessing he was seeking. He does not come away from the struggle unscathed, though, for in the process of wrestling with God, he is injured, having been struck on his hip, and spends the next day limping around. Our blessings, our spiritual gifts, often do not come easily, without struggle, or without pain or injury. Often they come in the midst of trouble, or a difficult journey, or deep grief. The timing of Jacob's wrestling with God is important, for he was on his way home, returning after a long, long time away, and for the first time after having stolen his brother Esau's birthright. Another story of spiritual struggle comes from the 16th century in a poem written by St. John of the Cross about the dark night of the soul, a phrase you most likely have heard that now commonly refers to a spiritual crisis and the struggle it entails as one moves through the process of meaning-making and toward understanding. Though I have spoken of spiritual journeys thus far as if there are many that one takes throughout one's life, I think that it is ultimately an oversimplification a way of breaking down our lifelong journeys into understandable bits and pieces and memorable moments. As humans, I see our entire lives as being one long spiritual journey that we can map out as we look back and see where we have been and where we are coming from. In thinking about my spiritual journey, on a spiritual journey, being on one, there are, of course, many definitions of the word spiritual that we can consider. And I know that many you struggle with the word itself, the word spiritual. Never mind what it means to be on a spiritual journey. For me, being spiritual is part of what it means to be human. We breathe. We are inspired. We make meaning. There is something inside us that compels us to make and to seek meaning out of and in our lives. Humans are the meaning makers. We struggle with what it means to be human. We struggle with understanding what our individual human lives mean. And we struggle to understand that which is greater than any one of us alone, whether that is the interdependent web, the universe, the multiverse, or even something we might dare to call God. As humans, our lives are filled with struggle, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. For it is in the struggle, in the wrestling, with understanding of what is truly important in our lives, that we receive so many of life's blessings. May you each be blessed with rich experiences of meaning-making and with people to see you through the struggle. Amen, and blessed be. Now let us rise either in body or spirit and sing our final hymn, number 1003 in the Teal hymnal. Where do we come from?
Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
You may be seated. This is a prayer for all the travelers, for the ones who start out in beauty, who fall from grace, who step gingerly, looking for the way back, and for those who are born into the margins, who travel from one liminal space to another, crossing boundaries in search of center. This is a prayer for the ones whose births are a passing from darkness to darkness, who all their lives are drawn toward the light and keep moving, and for whose journeys are a winding road that begins and ends in the same place, though only when the journey is completed do they finally know where they are. For all the travelers, young and old, aching and joyful, weary and full of life, the ones who are here and the ones who are not here, the ones who are like you, and they're all like you, and the ones who are different, for in some ways we each travel alone. This is a prayer for traveling mercies and sure-footedness, for clear vision, for bread, for your spirit and your body, for water, for your safe arrival, and for everyone you see along the way. Please rise in body or spirit for the benediction. As we prepare to leave this sheltering space, as we each prepare to continue on our individual spiritual journeys, even as we return to the world of the secular, may you each go in peace, with love in your hearts, kindness on your lips, compassion at your fingertips, blessing all others as you yourselves are blessed. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Michelle. Y'all, before we close out with our postlude, I have some announcements. So today, like I mentioned, y'all who are here online can join social time immediately after the service, while those of us here on site can make our way out to the playground and courtyard and gathering place or wherever else you want. But keep in mind that 15 minutes after the service, a bunch of us, our lunch bunch, are heading to Local Foods on the corner of San Felipe and Bering. It's just up the road. I also want to let y'all know that we've extended a deadline for the submission of Texas water photos for our homecoming service on the 11th of September. So please, if you've got a photo of a body of water you love in this state, send it Ann May's way. I also want to let y'all know that the week after that, we ask that you save the date for an event with our transition team on Zoom, unpacking some more of the history of this congregation. And lastly, for homecoming, we're going to have a potluck, so I want to encourage y'all to get started percolating on what you would like to contribute to the after-service feast. That's all for my announcements, so now for our postlude.